So today I'm going to explain the difference between some of your more common skateboard decks and some of the new technology that's really shaping the industry and how skateboard decks are going to be made in the days to come. Most people are familiar with your standard 7-ply maple board. Modern boards, of course, being made with 7 plies of usually Canadian or American maple, are the common board because they offer increased stiffness with less breakage than your previous models, which had very few plies to them. This particular board does not have a fancy graphic. Instead, it has a slick coating on the bottom. By not screening a complex graphic on there, they can usually cut the price of the board down and make them more available to your budgeted riders. Boards like this usually come in the neighborhood of $35 and offer a much cheaper option as opposed to your Pro Wood. Most of your standard Pro Wood will even be made with the same molds, the same glues, and the same pressings as your blank boards, except they're going to have more complex graphics, and some of them will even have more specific shapes to the pro rider. These boards tend to offer a slight performance increase depending on your style of riding, and may have steeper concave or steeper kicks and tails depending on that professional rider's preference. This is your standard board in the skateboard industry. Most of them usually run about $60 and are usually one of the best bets to get the job done. In recent months, several new board designs have come out using synthetic materials as opposed to just woods. This particular board from Powell offers 3 polymeric strips through the 3rd ply, making the board quite a bit stiffer and snappier, as well as giving the board the ability to not separate as it breaks. When your board separates as it breaks, your feet tend to go in opposite directions, which can lead to injury, and so most riders would like both pieces of their board to stay together as they fracture. These boards happen to perform extremely well and do a great job at the same price as standard Pro Wood, which is usually around $60. The current high ollie record was actually set on this exact model board. Almost will generally do a very break-resistant board using carbon fiber in with their maple. They use carbon impact discs on the bottom, allowing the board to retain its stiffness next to the bolts, where your board tends to break most. They also use an entire carbon top sheet, giving the board increased stiffness and pop, and once again allowing it to be very break resistant to middle breaks. Boards like this will generally be slightly more expensive at $65 to $70, and generally are a great option at just a slightly increased price. The newest design through Paul Schmidt, and leased to several companies including Plan B, is a P2 design. P2 features a Kevlar top sheet that is impregnated into the maple, giving the board a spring-loaded effect, so they tend to pop extremely high while retaining a level of stiffness that's pretty much unheard of with your standard maple deck. The only downside is that they do increase in price to about $70, but the performance benefits definitely exceed the cost. And finally, with the advent and the popularity of skate parks in this country, which have finally returned all over, including Montana, which happens to feature several really tall skate parks, we get lots and lots of shaped boards these days. Boards with more taper offering a little more meat and control in the skate park. Like this particular model from Santa Cruz, you'll see a lot of them will have a flatter tail for increased tail tricks on the coping, and a lot of them will even feature shaped noses like this punk nose here. Boards like this tend to run about the same price as your Pro Wood to maybe a little bit more, but will often feature the control features that most people like when you're riding bowls. A lot of our skate parks feature deeper bowls, and boards like this are increasing in popularity, particularly with stronger bowl riders and older riders who are familiar with riding transition.